Yeah, wouldn't it be nice to have all of this in like a set of videos, more of like a masterclass in the in-depth view or analysis for businesses that are operational? You might be wondering what exactly is he actually trying to talk about. Today, I just want to share a few things about the truth about CAC registrations and what exactly you really need. Basically, one of the few things that I've come to realize over time is when people talk about the formalization of business, the major foundation to formalizing any business would be your interaction with the Corporate Affairs Commission. In that particular sense, that's one of like the very, very major things that helps us or helps the government and of course your customers, your clients, and people, your stakeholders, those who interact with the things that you do. CAC is more of like the foundation. It creates the foundation for you to be able to assess a lot of opportunities, assess grants, assess venture capital, for example, assess different opportunities for you to be able to do business better. But are there certain things that CAC basically will not do for you? Because sometimes I talk to clients, I talk to people, and they think that once you have your company registration done, that means like money is just flowing into your account, even though no work is done. But one of the very good realities is that once you are formalized, what that simply means that your old ways of doing business definitely has to change. Once you now become like a formal entity, your old ways of doing business has to change. What do I mean by that? That just simply means that every naira that comes into your account is necessarily not 100% your own. So it's not even enough for you to say, okay, I have a CAC registration done, either as a business name or as a limited liability company. Then you now feel that, oh, when you're making money, you are spending like 100% of the money that comes into your account. The answer is no. That is not basically what happens. Like I talked to some of my friends who live abroad, even for those of them who are salaried earners, and they know for sure that, like in the US, for example, depending on the state where you're in, you might be looking at tax rates of up to like 30, 25, 30% upwards and all of that. So when people earn money there, they understand that the IRS has a say in the zeros that they have in their account or in their bank accounts, for example. Likewise in Nigeria. And one of the basics, when you're starting from that, one of the basic things that you also need to understand is that 7.5% of the inflow into your account is actually value added tax. That goes straight to the government. In fact, the government has you, without paying you salary, you have to work for the government to remit that 7.5% to the government on a monthly basis. So you can see that having to register a company necessarily doesn't put money in your account. It facilitates the movement of money into your account. It gives you that opportunity to become a formal business, to become recognizable, and of course, to become recognized by your special tax identification number. That number is unique to every company or every business entity. So that's just like business 101. This is just basic information. I just wanted you guys to know that when you go ahead to register a business and you formalize your entity, that means that you are now captured under the Nigerian government taxation system, which is a very beautiful thing. Like you're driving on roads, you're seeing all the development going across in the country. Of course, you know what I'm talking about. You can see them as I can, and that just gives you, a feeling of you are adding great value to your country. You are building your country, and you are contributing your own quota through you doing your business. But taxation and the issues around it, it's for another conversation. And I'm hoping that as these videos progress, I would be able to get like a tax consultant to really come and tell us all the updates in the new tax law that we have in the country, and how you can benefit from that law, and how and what your responsibilities are, or basically what your obligations are with respect to the law. But other things I put down here, I just wrote few notes down here, and I'm just trying to talk about one. Registering your company doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't give you more money. It takes from you. That's not really conventional, right? It doesn't give you money. It takes from you. I will say that again. Having a business registered doesn't give you money, it takes from you. But because it takes from you in taxation and you're already formalized, into the entire tax system, does that now really give you the impetus to now say, okay, I don't want to give government any money. I want to make 100, I want to keep 100% of everything that I'm earning. I don't think that's a good idea because you'll be shutting yourself out of a whole lot more opportunities. But I just wanted you to understand that once you come into the formal structure and the formal system, you have to pay your due. You have to pay your due. It won't put money in your account, rather, it will take from it. The other thing I also put down here was that having your registration done doesn't technically give you clients. Much of the videos out there talk about the fact that once your company is registered, our clients will start coming, like people will know your business. Your business registered with CAC. The only significance is that you have, when somebody types in your business name on the CAC portal, they can find you there. You exist in the portal, right? You exist in the portal. You are captured by government agencies, but you are in that portal. You are not in the marketplace. The fact that your business is registered does not give you a front seat in the marketplace. Rather, it gives you access. It gives you the embodiment of a unique personality to be able to assess the marketplace for your own profiting, depending on how you do business. So I needed to also make that very clear so that you don't think that once your business is registered, the mere fact that it's registered, you are not doing marketing, you are not doing sales, you are not collaborating, you are not making any other additional efforts, you are not even creating content around the things that you do, just like I'm doing currently, and you expect that the money is going to flow in your direction. It doesn't work that way. A corporate affairs commission registration will not put money in your bank account. In fact, you had to even pay to have the business registered. So that needs to give you like an idea of what I'm talking about. Also, having registered a company, I've actually worked with roughly about 2,000 companies or even more, both for Nigerian clients and clients in diaspora. And one thing that I found very useful, for some companies that come back to have conversations with us through our retainership packages, they talk about hiring, they have issues around hiring, issues around firing, issues around, managing the process of letting people go, and on one of those days, I had to write a letter, a beautiful love letter of letting someone go, having to communicate the value the person has added to the company. But because of the next phase that the company was venturing into, certain services were necessarily no longer optimally required. What does that mean? Yeah, but basically, the point I'm trying to make is that you having a business name registered or a limited liability company registered doesn't mean that that registration does the hiring for you. So for you to hire, firstly, you need to know what is your business necessarily looking out for. What are you looking out for in your business? What are the skill sets, the tool sets, and what is the predominant mindset that you're looking for that will drive that particular company? How do you find all of these three things in one person or in this special individual that is going to move your business from that one spot level to 100 spots ahead and all of that? So you need to be thinking about hiring as a business person. And I'll tell you for sure that when you're starting out, especially when you necessarily don't have all the funds together, you're not making so much money, you would have to be the one pushing all of this together. If you're a business name, for sure, that means if you have a business name registration done, a one-man business, that's really a one-man kind of doing things. If you have a limited liability company, maybe you have more than one director on your incorporation documents, and you have other parties to the team pushing the business forward, then you might need to like join heads together to see how you can hire the right people that would deliver on the promise of what you intend to put out there to your customers, to your clients, and to your stakeholders. Your CAC registration is not going to do that for you. You need to have built up some level of capacity to understand what business you're in and the right way to plug in the right mindsets and the right people to be able to deliver all the things that you require for your business. So that's another thing that your CAC documentation would not do for you. Yes, now management. Some of us manage our businesses, maybe the way we manage our relationships. You know that relationship where you've been dating for like the past 7 to 10 years without getting married. Those kind of guys, like how they treat their spouses, like there's no urgency. How do you date for 7 years and you're not getting married? And you now transmutate that particular mindset to your business. It only means that you are not necessarily not making decisions as at when due. You are not a sharpshooter when it comes to decision making. Like you like to think processes through. You are a slow mover. You move slowly and you believe that steady wins the race. You don't want to make too many mistakes. You don't want to step on your partner's toes in your relationship. Then you get into business. Oh, I don't want to hurt anybody. I want to be the good guy. CAC is not going to manage that for you. That would solely depend on how well you've been able to build yourself as an individual. So that's extremely key. That's extremely important. You must understand your own management style. What's your management style? Are you the collaborative guy? You like to have everybody's opinion before you move ahead? Are you the person that feels like, if you don't hear everybody's opinion, you cannot make a decision? Or are you the kind of person that you are a first mover? Like you move on instincts, and not necessarily because moving on instinct is the best thing to do, because if your instincts most times are not guided by the data available in your business place, you might be making the wrong decisions over and over and over and over again. So it's important that you can find a blend of what works with you as a business leader, what works with your personality, what works with your drive, what works with your goal. And like I tell people, when they come to me asking around maybe business name, limited liability company, one thing I tell them is you need to go back to your vision, right? What's your vision? What's your business vision? Because if your vision is around having a business where maybe you are a shoemaker, which is a beautiful kind of business. There are shoemakers who are scaling, or maybe you are selling masa sellers in Abuja now. Like really, you go to a masa spot and you are buying masa of almost about 8,000 naira. You see people queuing up on the line. Maybe you are buying masa with other additions, right? And business is booming, business is growing. People are building franchises across, the masa, business value chain and all of that. So that's like a beautiful business for those who can do it. Do you run like an art studio? Do you run like a hairdressing salon? Do you run businesses that like have the ability to keep you in one spot? Are you into the thrift business, for example? You sell secondhand clothing items, and maybe you sell them online, you have a little shop, or you do that business from home. Or are you an airline? Are you an airline? Of course, you can't be talking about business name and you are talking about an airline. No, you can't be talking about a security-based business and you're talking about business name. You can't be talking about a real estate company and you are talking about business name. You can't be talking about an investment company, a securities company, a logistics, a real logistic. Because when people come with business name and they're talking about logistics, I'm like, how can you do logistics with a business name registration? Because a business name registration does not necessarily give you the protection that you need for that kind of a risky business. It only means that if, for example, one of your riders or one of your bikes or your cars is involved in an accident, that means that your liability is personal. So you have to think about the vision of that business before you now begin to think about the structure of the business. But back to what we're talking about in terms of management. When you're thinking management, you are thinking management is it's I would say that when I think of management, I'm thinking of that residual personality, that personality that you have built over the years. And I'm talking of a positive managerial personality to make sure that your eyes are actually on the ball. You focus on things that really add value to your business. You delegate other things that may not really have, that forward push towards the numbers that the business is supposed to be doing. So that's what I talk when that's what I'm thinking when I'm saying management. So that's very important. You need to have a proper management style for your business. And like I said here, you must identify your management style and also your ability to surround yourself with people who are better than you. I gave a hack, I gave a hack in one of the old videos I did, and that video is on YouTube. I think it's across my social media handles anyways. And I was talking about the fact that, you can run a limited liability company with a semblance of the structure that public limited companies actually have. When you talk of a public limited company, you are talking about maybe companies that are quoted, for example, and companies that give more access to a wide range of individuals to be part of the company. So that's what I mean, and that's what is legally stated. But the point I'm trying to draw right now has to do with the fact that if you're looking at a company board now, for example, you would find that more in public companies than private companies. Other very, very highly established private companies have a semblance of corporate governance that they use. But even for your business, you can look for people that are better than you, right? You can look for people that have better skills or better knowledge in sales, in scaling, in procurement, like in different aspects of your business, even in social media. Social media, yes. You can partner with companies. You don't necessarily have to pay people all the time. You can look for a social media company that you can partner with. Oh, come on, join me. Let's do this together. On every particular sale that we make on XYZ, you take off this percentage because you are plugging in the social media aspect of this business, because you can't run everything on your own, especially if you are just starting out. So you need to plug in partners. You can plug in partners. This is like an idea from high scaling companies, and you can bring it down to your level to also see how you can talk to people around you who are better than you. If you are the only champion, you are not yet a champion. That didn't really take all the wisdom in the world to say, but I just want to say that if you are the only champion, like, you are not yet a champion. And that's really true. And you find this basically as an attitude in a lot of persons that have a business name registration. They are very averse to taking idea from experience. I talk to many of them, many business name owners, and they only rely on what they know. They do not allow for that inflow. You don't necessarily get that if you are doing a limited liability registration, because you're thinking of a whole lot of things. You have more obligations, tax related, and of course otherwise. So I just felt we should note that. Then one funny point that I wrote down here is your CAC registration cannot help you travel abroad. Right? And somebody will be wondering, like, what do you mean, like, your CAC registration cannot help you travel abroad? Yes, your CAC registration in itself, because right now, when people go to the embassy, they want to travel, the embassies will ask you, okay, you're using proof of funds from your company, you have to provide our company details. Providing that detail alone is not enough. The question you need to ask yourself from a compliance standpoint, is this business active on the CAC portal? That's the only relevant question. So that's why I say that you having a CAC document is not enough for you to travel abroad. Like, you need to have a compliant CAC registration document. You need to have filed your annual returns up to date. Then, depending on the sector where you find yourself, you need to also ensure that you are following through on the compliance that cuts across the business that you offer. So that's very important. That's also very key. And that's why sometimes you need a lawyer that understands business, that dreams it, thinks it, eats it, snores it, swallows it. In any case, the point I'm just making is that you need to have the right mindset on your team to be able to help you push through all the things that you want to do as a business. And I would just say, lastly, that as a business, basically, focus on what's important to you. Leave compliance for the experts, like the professionals that understand compliance. I can't imagine right now I'm chasing like maybe a $1 million transaction and I'm thinking compliance. I should be deploying all my energies like into who do I meet? Who can I talk to? Do I have the CEO's number of this conglomerate? Can I talk to this multinational? Can I talk to some of all these international partners? Like, those are the things that should be engulfing my mind. And if you now find that you are pushing for how can I make money, you're also pushing for how can I do compliance, it just means that you are actually not fully in your business. You are also in the compliance business. So the game basically is look for companies, look for entities that can support the compliance aspect of your business so that you can focus on the things that really matter. And of course, the bottom line. And I will not end this video without saying that as much as you're a business, right? You're a business, you make profit. Profit is not the major aim of business. It's not the only aim. Sorry, it's a major aim. It's not the only aim of business. These days, we now talk about social impact businesses, environmental impact businesses, business and human rights, impact businesses. Like, what are the other forces that you can mainstream into your business to give your business that whole sustainable outlook that even persons out of the shores of this country would want to do business with you? There brings me to the concept of business and human rights. Are you mainstreaming certain human rights ideals into your business? Does your business require a human rights due diligence? Can we look at the entire value chain of your business? Do you run a maritime business, for example, or you run an oil and gas business, or you own a mining site, or you run a massive agric business? What are the things that you can do to mainstream human rights into your business so that When elements of your business are taking certain actions within the marketplace, they are mainstreaming some of these human rights ideals, human rights ideas into the business that you do. That's what's going to give businesses the edge in the next decade, in the next 2 decades to come. You have the opportunity to start now and to start early because you are hearing this from me for the very first time, I'm very sure. I'm sure there are hundreds of you and thousands of you out there may never have heard of human rights due diligence in your business. Somebody will be like, oh, human rights, that's for right to life now, right to human dignity and all that. But no, yeah, you can still infuse some of those concepts into the business that you run. Your business has to be responsible, doing business responsibly, making profit responsibly, not making profit on the back, on the blood, on the backs of vulnerable people, people who cannot really help themselves because you are only thinking about profit. So if profit is the only thing that you think about, like the absolute only thing you think about, you're not really doing business responsibly. So I just hope that all of these things I've shared around the truths about CAC registration, what it is and what it's not, what it can do for you and what it can't do for you, has been able to add some level of value to your business. And I hope to see you on the next video. Do have a wonderful bye.